good morning to you. Oop, you can see my thing there. Good morning, everybody. Kim McAllister in for Nikki Maduro today. And sorry I'm a little bit late because I had to reboot my computer a couple times. So I always think better at the beginning than right in the middle. So hopefully that fixes the problem and we're all good to go. I have to tell you, I think I'm bringing a little bit of drama today to the show because I sat at the kitchen table and I cried last night. I just cried. You know, when it kind of catches up with you? Maybe I was tired, but also I read what John Kelly said, his quotes yesterday, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, what is happening to America? Why? Why? We'll get into it. We'll read it together. We'll react together. We'll see how it goes together. Um, and maybe I was just feeling sad last night and I'm much better now. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry we're running a little bit behind the schedule, but I will say that I'm grateful for you spending this morning with us. A few housekeeping items. A reminder to click the like button if you can just quickly go down and click it. Done. If you haven't subscribed to the show, that's another free little click it. Done. And then if you are interested in helping us celebrate the 1 year anniversary of this show, really excited. So Mark's show, which comes on after this, the anniversary officially is October 12th, and we'll be celebrating all week. Nikki's, I think we started a couple days later, and that's October 16th. But we'll also be celebrating all week. And Nikki has put together something really cool, which is a box of all of her favorite things. If you win it in this raffle that we're having, within 50 miles away from San Jose, if you live within 50 miles, she'll deliver it to you. Otherwise, she'll send it through the mail. And I don't know exactly what all's in here, but I've heard a few things and I'm kind of jealous already. I kind of want to enter to win the box. So let me give you the details on how you can enter to get a hold of the raffle. This is the 1 year anniversary fundraiser. All you have to do is PayPal her $20 and it's to the Nikki Maduro Show at gmail.com. She'll send you a confirmation and then you're good to go. So that's what happens with that. I do want to also let you know that we have our PayPal and Patreon links, as well as the Nikki merchandise links and the links to the podcast as well, all at thenikkimaduroshow.com, thenikkimaduroshow.com. All right, let's get into this. Why don't we? And I'm sorry ahead of time if, here I go and I'm bringing the drama. But I read it and I felt disillusioned. I know we've all probably had these moments where we have been disillusioned or where we have been, what is happening with America? And that's where I was last night when I created the show and the picture for the show this morning. So you know who John Kelly is, right? He was the former chief of staff for former President Trump. And he is also a former Marine general. He served this country. He has said, when taking criticism for why he served under Trump, that he wanted to contain the damage. He got in there, realized it was trouble, and wanted to contain the damage. So CNN has this exclusive with him. And they say he set the record straight with an on-the-record confirmation of a number of damning stories about statements Trump made behind closed doors attacking U.S. service members and veterans, and a number of objectionable comments that Kelly witnessed Trump make firsthand. So I'm going to read you what he says, and then I would love your reaction as well. I would love it. Because maybe I'm wrong, because maybe you find hope where I just found none. Or maybe you have a different reaction. And here's the quote. "What can I add that has not already been said?" Kelly said when asked if he wanted to weigh in on his former boss in light of recent comments made by other Trump officials. Quote, A person that thinks those who defended their country in uniform, or are shot down or seriously wounded in combat, or spend years being tortured as POWs are suckers because there's nothing in it for them. A person that did not want to be seen in the presence of military amputees because it doesn't look good for me. A person who demonstrated open contempt for a Gold Star family, for all Gold Star families on TV during the 2016 campaign, and rants that our most precious heroes who gave their lives in America's defense are losers and wouldn't visit their graves in France. A person who is not truthful regarding his position or the protection of unborn life on women, on minorities, on evangelical Christians, on Jews, on working men and women, Kelly continued. A person that has no idea what America stands for and has no idea what America is all about. A person who cavalierly suggests that a selfless warrior who has served his country for 40 years in peacetime and war should lose his life for treason, in expectation that someone will take action. A person who admires autocrats and murderous dictators. A person that has nothing but contempt for our democratic institutions, our Constitution, and the rule of law. There is nothing more that can be said, Kelly concluded. God help us. And this is why I'm sitting at my kitchen table, you guys, crying last night. It hits me the same way. I was hoping it wouldn't today. Here I am. There will be people that say, look at her, she's such a snowflake. She just can't handle it. Oh, she's so weak, or she's so whatever. Whatever the criticism is. The truth is, how can a person like that be neck and neck in the polls? I talked to Jim Avila the other day, and I felt a little better after it when he said, you can't believe the polls, and the polls are interviewing the wrong people. But how a person like that could have even one person support them, even one, is unfathomable to me. Now, argue whether you want, will or not, that maybe the way most of us grew up is good or bad, right? We were forced to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and sing the national anthem, and we were spoon-fed patriotism. And I get that. I know that's part of the school system, and I know that's part of creating a country and what have you. And maybe I believed it too much. But I believe in America. I believe in the principles of our Constitution. When you hear people, when I heard people as a kid, talk about all of the people who fought for America and died, upholding our Constitution and our way of life, I take that very seriously as an American. I thought it was our job to protect democracy, to hold it in our hands gently and pass it to the next generation, and so on and so on. So that the people who fought and created this country and founded this country, and then fought in the Civil War to keep it alive, and then fought in other wars, just or unjust, because they believed in the ideals of democracy in America. That's who we are. Isn't that patriotism? Isn't that loving America? Maybe I just bought it all hook, line, and sinker. I thought we were all in this together. I thought if there's one thing we can agree on, one place we can come from, it's defending the Constitution. But look at all the people who don't care, who would rather support the person I just read about. Oh, and so I'm disillusioned. And so I find myself sad about it. I'll be all right. And maybe you have a different take. Let's talk about it. Harry. Good morning, Harry. In my humble opinion, Kelly was honoring the presidency, not the president. I agree with you very much. I feel like he is a patriot, whether you agree with him or not, or his politics, because we come from a completely different place of domestic politics, right? I mean, reproductive choice is a key way that I vote. Believing that people have the right to love who they love, really important to me. Treating immigrants and people with respect, it's important to me. And so we're different on that, but we're not so different when it comes to protecting what makes America America. So I agree with you, Harry. You're probably right. He was probably protecting and honoring the presidency. You're right. You're right. And I can't, I'm not upset with Kelly per se. I'm just, when such a patriot like that describes what we have going on and who people are still supporting, it's like a punch to the gut that so many people are still behind this. And it's so frustrating to me. Cheryl writes, the people I know who support Trump don't even know these things. They ignore the news, and when they hear this, they think it's a lie. I have given up on these folks, some of whom are in my family. Yeah. That's the saddest thing, Cheryl. But here's, when you say they don't know these things, how do we understand that about our country and not them? Didn't we all grow up in most of us in the similar school system? Didn't we all grow up celebrating the 4th of July and figuring out why that is? I just don't understand. Sorry, here I am crying again. Look at me blowing my nose on YouTube. But it's so upsetting. It's so upsetting. And what's more upsetting to me is that I feel like, and maybe you guys disagree. I hope you disagree. Set me straight, please, please. Is how we get back to a place where we put our democratic ideals first. How do we get back to that place? I'm not saying we all have to agree on reproductive rights. I'm not saying we all have to agree on your Christian ideals or whatever you've got going on. I'm not saying any of that. People have different opinions on different issues. I mean, I'm probably more conservative when it comes to crime. You guys have heard me say before that I don't think prison sentences are long enough for people on January 6th, right? Or people that walk away with $18,000 worth of sunglasses from the Sunglass Hut, whatever it might be. Or people that have sexually attacked people and, their prison sentence is more like a slap on the wrist. I can be a little conservative sometimes. Maybe not. Maybe I'm dreaming. But I guess I just feel like that should be such common ground for us. How do they not know, Cheryl? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Nick says the only people that continue to support him are those just like him. That's why. How could there be so many just like him? I thought there were more just like us. By us, I mean people who, at the very core, at the very bottom of all this, believe in the principles of democracy. Yeah, Square. And that's the confusing part. It defies all logic. We're all jaw-dropped around here, and no one wants us to talk about it. Lori says, it's a little late, General Kelly. Where were you with this 4 to 6 years ago? Do you think anybody who remembers deep down, who knows deep down what America means, will read what he wrote and think, why am I supporting this guy? Or are they too entrenched in it now, and they've lost too many family members like Cheryl, that it's hard to admit when you're wrong? I mean, I'm not going to hold it against you if you got sucked up in this thing and you couldn't see through it, and now you do. And it's okay to change your mind, and it's okay to change your opinion. Welcome back to reality. Come on in. I'll grab your hand and I'll lift you up out of that pit. I just don't see a lot of people wanting to climb out of it. Yeah, Sandy, this is where I can't. And this is why I it's so I feel like almost like we're losing our country. How does someone like that have so much support? How? Square writes about Putin. It's as if Putin was saying it himself. Yeah. Is that what happened? Did we let that infiltrate us? When did we lose sight of what matters? I don't know. I don't know when we lost sight of it. I want us to I want us to bring it back into full focus. And maybe in your travels, as you talk to your Trumpy family members, because I know I have one who I love, and I'll talk to him about this. But that's why I feel like we can't close down the conversation, Cheryl, especially, and I'm looking at family members who are lost. There's some that are too far gone that don't want to hear what you have to say. It's pointless. But there are some that are reasonable people. They just, yeah. Vilma says it's plain and simple. Trump broke the law. And Sandy, I don't understand it. Vicky and Vilma, she writes, for some reason, Trump is allowed to have his own set of rules and it drives me bonkers. I can't. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. I think he's come to the end of the line, though, with all these cases against him, because the court of law is much different than the court of public opinion. And so it seems to me that he's finally come to the end of the road for the rules being a little different for him. So that's kind of where I wanted to start. And I'm so sorry if I'm bringing you down. Um, Lori writing, when you're in the middle of chaos, your brain chemistry changes to fight or flight mode and is flooded with adrenaline. When this happens, you absorb or don't absorb information differently. And Trump keeps you there. That's probably the best, most reasonable, logical explanation I've ever seen for why people are like this. Honestly. I get that we're spoon fed different information. When you're on Facebook or whatever social media and you type in search for this, or you click on one article that has the ideas you want, then they serve you up 50 more just like it. And so you never really get the truth. But that's a good point, Lori. I just don't know how we fight that. You know, I don't know how we get to the point where even if you, no, I don't know how we get back to the point where we all start at the same place, which is we're all Americans and we all protect America. How do we lose that? Let's start there. Walnut Creek Adult Softball. Good morning to you. As soon as he opened his mouth and started calling names, bullying, insulting the American people, is where everyone should have asked, is this who I want representing the U.S., Matt, USA? Me? No. I mean, I knew before grab him by the pee, but if that wasn't the sign around the neck saying, warning, back away, I don't know what was. Harry says Trump is a loser. He lost in 18, 20, 2022. He turned the red tide into a trickle, and he'll cost the GOP the House and the Senate in 24. I hope so, but it just frustrates me that there's such a divide, that so many people don't see it, that so many people are willing to go with this personality, this persona, this small infantile child, unless maybe I'm the one that doesn't see it. And I'm willing to, say, well, gosh, for all the things I think about other people, maybe I'm the one that's not being open-minded. Maybe I'm the one who has been spoon-fed all the information. No, I know that's not true because I look at a lot of different information and I'm trained to know which sources are valid and which aren't. So I don't think that's the case, but I'm willing to entertain the notion. And if everyone was willing to entertain the notion, then maybe we could get back to the point where we get some truth going in. Kelly, Kevin, rather. It's all about whether or not we outgrow bigotry. That's a big ask, isn't it, for some people? David Odell, I bailed on the constant drone of cable news. I'm much happier for it. Left or right, they are all designed to provoke emotional reactions and outrage. You think I got caught up in that, David? It was really the words of Kelly. It was really those words of John Kelly that got me. Of a patriot who fought by the country. He's a Marine Corps general. He served the country, served Trump. His words were just so powerful for me. But you know what, David? You're right. My husband, David, said the same thing as I'm crying at the kitchen table over the state of our country. He says, this is why I don't watch the news like you do. This is why I don't pay attention like you do. And he pays attention, maybe just not with the fervor in with which I do. But there is something, David, to protecting your mental health. I will tell you, you know, you sometimes have to put yourself and your needs first. So I get that big time. Yeah. Vilma writes, if Fox News and Hannity that created Trump and keep Trump alive, that it is them. She said, this is America's dark age. That's true. I really think that's true, Vilma. This is America's dark age. I want to highlight that with a highlighter and remember that you said it. People after us will shake their heads in disbelief belief that America went through this period of time. Us. I mean, us. Right? Democratic ideals, if we can go through this America's dark age, come on. Then other countries are screwed. That's how I feel. This isn't supposed to happen here. Yeah. Harry says, Trump was very clear when he asked, why did they do it? There was nothing in it for them. Trump is only interested in what's in it for him, like the $2 billion from Saudi Arabia. That's true. I guess, Trump aside, we know he's power hungry, maniacal, not right in the head, uh, fill in the blank. But why people put him over the principles of democracy in America, that's what I can't get past. I'm having problems with it. Square says, oh, sorry, Brian. I was looking for this one. I'll read yours in just a moment. Square says, if Trump has it's as if he has productized his method. We're at risk of anyone that wears his brand in the future. It has given the fringe hope. It's true. Because it's not crazy to think these things anymore. Right? Brian, we need to be hopeful until the pendulum turns over and reveals the better, more compassionate part of the United States. Thank you, Brian. There's some hope for me. I appreciate it very much because I think you're right. I believe there's more rational people, patriots, believers in American democracy than there are not. And I believe Jim Avila when he tells me, it's okay, Kim. We're going to be okay. I guess there's always part of me nervous because of Trump's win the first time that we could, if we're not paying attention or we're not passionate enough, can't accuse me of that today, that we could end up with another President Trump in the White House. But I think now that we have seen it, for the rest of our lives, we have to vote with incredible scrutiny and be very, very careful. I didn't realize that before Trump. I thought whoever I picked is always going to love America, right? Why would you run for the presidency if you didn't? So, good morning, Calvin. He says those forever Trumpers are narrow-minded, selfish traitors and have no human values. They prove it every day in court. Disgusting people. So, yes, and how do we get to them, to reach them? Because I think underneath, as Vilma put it, the dark years, they remember what America is supposed to be about. So if we start from a place of half the country, you're narrow-minded and you're selfish and you're traitors and you're this and you're that, they're just going to close down and say, screw you, Trump 2024, right? How do we find them and remind them that we're all Americans first? How do we remind them that? How do we get back to that place? That's where I want to go back to, where we all start at this common spot. That thing in us that put, whether you want to say it was cheesy or well intentioned or stupid or not, not coming from a place of being genuine, I don't know. But that feeling that after we were attacked on September 11th made you want to put a flag on your car or whatever it was, or made you sit in front of the television and cry because our country were attacked, our way of life was attacked, our democracy, our political ideals were being attacked. We all, I would say it felt like almost all of us, came together in that moment. It's where do we get back to that? And I don't want to be attacked again. Trust. I don't want that. I just want people to remember that and remember that we can start at the same place of at least that. And if we do that, then we're not looking for a candidate like Trump. We're looking for a candidate that will put America first, regardless of your politics. That's where we should be able to agree. Nick says we need to figure out how to organize, vote, and take Trump down once and for all in 2024. You know what I'm scared about, Nick, too, though, is now that we've had a Trump, that people are just going to line up behind the next mini Trump, a Ramaswamy or a DeSantis or a whatever. Hillary Clinton was saying yesterday that we should believe him, Trump, when he says he wants to investigate the media, right? When he's saying all these things that are rather dictator-like, that we need to believe that's what he wants to do. That he wants to not focus on protecting and defending the Constitution, as is the whole point of the presidency, right? He wants to get in there and chuck it and do his own thing. Okay, we have to not, because honestly, I mean, I could just go straight into where's the nearest place I can get Prozac, honestly. So I get it. Because it's so disappointing and so depressing. So I need to find a way to harness this and read John Kelly's words and keep them and not forget them and not forget the why for me. So, Kim C writes, we should be trying to find viable qualities, honorable candidates for the highest office in the nation, and not trying to re-elect any 80-year-old person. We have lost sight of what's important. You can't say, though, whether you like his age or not, that President Biden doesn't love America, that he hasn't spent his life serving the American people, riding the train back and forth from his home state, because maybe he has some ego in it, but I believe that he believes in America and what makes America great. And trust me, I'll take a 90-year-old president that believes in the principles of democracy than would take a 40-year-old person that's like a out for themselves and doesn't care about the reason that America is America. Ellen's saying, yeah, we need to be more aware of propaganda techniques. So that's kind of, I know it's deep for this whole 9 o'clock in the morning thing, but that's where I'm coming from. Oh no, you can't get the like button to work. Oh no. Well, maybe if you reboot, that will happen to you. I don't want you to go away, but perhaps. I don't know what happened to the like button. Not sure. But thanks for trying. Thanks for trying to like it. Even though I was a little sad. All right. Thank you for your comments. I really appreciate it's the conversation with you guys, honestly, that keeps me coming back. So thank you for that. Let's talk about Trump's decision to show up in New York for the start of his civil trial. He calls it as personal as it was political. This is an article out of CNN. For former President Donald Trump, showing up in New York for the start of his civil trial yesterday was more than a political stop to boost his 2024 campaign. It was also deeply personal. Now, I have read that this is going to be a campaign that is political speech on the courthouse steps. That every day that he shows up at court, it's an opportunity for him to speak to the American people, for the American people to hear what he has to say. And some will say, well, we shouldn't cover it then. Take the cameras away, give him no outlet. But as Jim Avila writes today in Barrett News Media, it's important to cover him because it's important to shine a light on what we would be getting again. I have to agree with him. A reminder of who this person is, right? Pardon me. Several sources who spoke with CNN said Trump's decision to attend the hearing after the judge found that he had committed fraud by inflating his riches was largely driven by how the accusations strike at what Trump values the most, and that is his business and his brand. One of the sources said they're hitting him where it hurts. That Trump is publicly seething as he entered and left the courtroom, stopping to speak with reporters on multiple occasions. He plans to be in court for a second day today. I guess he was fuming last week when found liable for fraud. And it just seems so counterintuitive and downright stupid to me that he would stand on the courthouse steps and call the judge rogue and call the New York Attorney General and the judge names and basically say they're criminals when it's the judge in this case that's going to decide the outcome. Why do you want to antagonize someone that your company and all the things you care about the fate of it rests in the palm of this person's hand? Trump apparently has told those closest to him he doesn't care if any of the judges in his multiple cases seek to punish him, saying it will benefit him politically to do so. What if a gag order is issued? That will benefit him because people will say, see, we're not even letting him speak. Trump said before walking into the courtroom yesterday, this has to do with election interference, plain and simple. They're trying to damage me so I don't do as well as I'm doing in the election. And people believe that. No, dude, it's because you broke not one law, but multiple laws. 91 federal counts. No, dude. It has nothing to do with election interference. It's because you're a full-on criminal. And the world has finally caught up with your entitled ass. That's what happened. When he was asked why he showed up in person yesterday, Trump said, it's because I want to watch this witch hunt himself. I think he actually believes that. That's the sad part. You know? And they're all Trump and sons. I'll leave his youngest son out of it. Like this. They're all like this. I was watching this video last night with Donald Trump Jr. and how apparently he was being deposed in this case. And he laughed basically at his own ineptness is what happened. It's surprising. I mean, maybe he thinks he's being personable. But when you're running a company like this and you're on trial, the company is on trial, the Trump organization is on trial for fraud. I mean, it seems like you would want people in place running the show that understand the basic principles of business. I don't think we can say that about Donald Trump Jr. Check this out.
Do you have any familiarity with an acronym GAP, G-A-A-P?
Generally accepted accounting principles, yes.
Okay. How did you become familiar with that acronym?
Probably in Accounting 101 at Wharton.
Okay. What do they teach
Smug
you
smile.
about generally accepted accounting principles in Wharton?
Well, I'm not an accountant, but that they are generally accepted.
Anything else?
That's pretty much what I remember from Accounting 101. So,
Have you told me everything you know about GAAP?
basically, I'm sure I could come up with some creative stuff to kill time, but I'd be doing neither of us a favor in terms of educating ourselves.
That's it. That's what you have to say. Okay, that's a great defense. What I wonder is if they're setting the stage for being bumbling people who are stupid rather than being malicious and greedy and doing it on purpose. Oh, well, we didn't know we were doing it wrong. We didn't know we were valuing our assets wrong. We didn't know the general accounting principles. We didn't know this. You look like an idiot, but I guess maybe you'd rather look like an idiot than someone who did it on purpose because they were committing fraud. So maybe that's why. I just thought that was interesting, and I hadn't seen it before. That was released by, I believe, the Attorney General of New York in the case. Last night, the late night shows are back, and it was Jimmy Kimmel who said, I'm pent up. He said, I'm backed up. I've had so many Trump jokes to give to us during the strike that they all kind of came rushing out. And I guess the late night shows going after Trump after the strike hiatus was too much for Trump to take. He was mad, apparently threw a middle of the night tantrum over all the mocking. He said, now that the strike is over, the talentless, low-rated creeps of late-night television are back. I knew there was a reason I didn't want to see it settled. True losers. In another post on his Truth Social crap, he says, poorly rated, not at all funny. He claimed that the shows were a major campaign contribution to Democrats. Watch what's going on, he said. So interesting. Right. It's funny because in 2021, apparently, and this is according to the Daily Beast, Trump asked the Justice Department to investigate late-night comics who made fun of him. They say he was so obsessed that that he asked his advisors if the Federal Communications Commission or the courts could stop the jokes. No, they can't. Because if you're a public figure, you're a public figure. And they're going to joke about you. People will say good things. People will say bad things. It's not just going to be the people who revere you at the rallies. You have to take it all in. All of it. And if you don't want to watch the jokes, then turn off the late night shows. This is the scary part, though. Listen to that. He wants to restrict free speech. He wanted to, in 2021, ask the Justice Department to look into, or the Federal Communications Commission, whether they could stop comedians from making jokes. We've heard him want to investigate news organizations for saying, for delivering the truth, basically, instead of his, brand of lies. Man, how do you not see through that? Okay, let's get into something else, okay? I'm going to take this whole ball of Trump, and I wish I could throw it in my garbage. I have a garbage can here. I'm going to throw it right in my trash can. There he is, right there. We're putting it away. Mentally, right? Mentally, he's in the garbage. All right, let's talk about something. And I found this so interesting. There was an interview done with Jamie Dimon. He's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. And he gave this interview to, I think it's Bloomberg. Yeah, Bloomberg. And he talked about what future generations, how their lives will be. And he said they're going to live to 100. They're not going to get cancer. They're going to work 3.5 days a week. He said that's the life that he predicts for the next generation. He is very optimistic about artificial intelligence technology. He said, yes, AI will replace jobs, but he also talked about the potential to change work in every part of his company and even in the entire economy, how it's going to change everything for us. Um, he says that JP Morgan Chase is already using AI for most of its equity hedging, where the firm takes two sides of an investment bet to reduce risk. For example, by investing in oil alongside solar panels. And when Bloomberg reporter Emily Chang, who's lovely, asked Dimon if AI would replace jobs, he said, "Of course it will. People have to take a deep breath," he continued. "Technology always has replaced jobs. Your children are going to live to be 100. They're not going to have cancer because of technology. And literally, they'll probably be working 3.5 days a week." What are we doing? What are our great grandchildren doing when they're not with all that time off? I don't know. Laying around? Exercising? Um, I don't know. The article goes on to talk about AI's ability to speed up repetitive tasks, write comprehensible documents, find useful patterns across data too large for the human mind to interpret. Um, and he's right when you look at investments in AI and how this sector is just going crazy. Dimon is apparently, they say he's joining a number of executives who have posited that AI will dramatically alter the workforce. While some CEOs talk up the need for workers to adjust quickly to stay afloat, others predict work hours will become shorter and more human, with AI helping some shoulder the load. The worry is that as we transform this workforce, we could find income inequality even wider. They're not going to pay you for work you don't do, right? Some AI systems apparently are requiring what this publication, The Verge, is calling a vast undertaker class. Underpaid workers who perform tedious, sometimes disturbing work to train the technology. The use of AI for script writing also became a flashpoint in the Hollywood writer strike, as we know. And so there may be these people that their job is to train the AI. Dimon said JP Morgan Chase is already using forms of AI. He is talking about his lead researcher. He says if AI replaces jobs at his company, he hopes the firm can redeploy the workers. For us, he said, every single process, so errors, trading, hedging, research, every app, every database, you're going to be applying AI. It might be as a co-pilot, it might be to replace humans. I just don't see companies out of the goodness of their heart to keep a segment of the population paid, saying, you know, you only have to work 3 days a week and we don't really need you, but we're just going to keep paying you for a job that we don't need, even though we've invested gazillions of dollars in AI technology so that we could eventually can you. We're going to keep paying you. I think we're naive if we think that. But I thought that was interesting that he thinks our children's children are going to live to 100, are going to not get cancer because of technology and work 3.5 day work weeks. Okay, we'll see if that works out. It is happening in Washington, D.C. Representative Matt Gaetz has filed this motion, as he said he would, to try to kick out House Speaker Kevin McCarthy from his spot. I don't know if you've been following this. They've been having this back and forth. You know, you suck. No, you suck. No, you suck. No, you. So I don't know how Speaker McCarthy survives this one. He is facing what is being called a referendum on his leadership. After Matt Gaetz has filed the paperwork, it's a move to oust him from the speakership. And it's interesting because Gaetz says I don't really care whether he's ousted or not, because Democrats could come to his aid and save him. But Gaetz says, haha, then we'll know who we're working with. He can't rally the Republican Party if he's working with the Democrats, right? So either way, it's bad for McCarthy. Either he gets kicked out, or he goes and he shakes hands with Democrats who keep him in his position, and then he loses respect from whoever it is in his party. McCarthy had said to Gaetz, you know what, bring it on. And Gaetz responded in a post, I just did. And so now we have in America, the first time in more than a century, that's 100 years, people, that a lawmaker may actually force a vote using a legislative tool that has been threatened against other House speakers, but never actually used to try to get them out. What a party in disarray, honestly. I think Gaetz needs to take a look in the mirror and ask if he's doing the right thing for Republicans here. Even Representative Thomas Massey, who's an ultra-conservative from Kentucky, says, this is a really bad idea. This is a really, really bad idea. I mean, I don't want to take glee in the fact that their party's imploding. And I'm kind of scared as to who the next speaker will be, as if McCarthy wasn't bad enough, right? Is it going to be Gaetz? Ooh. Here comes Beavis and Butthead coming in. So watching all that in Washington, D.C. I'll lighten it up with this story. Are you guys lovers of bananas? No? This is something I don't do. They say you're supposed to wash your banana before you eat it, the outside, the peel. I didn't know. I don't do it. Apparently, you should be, according to the Senior Director of Food Technology Communications at the International Food Information Council, you should be washing produce that has a peel with clean running water, even if you plan to discard that peel. This woman, Tamika Sims, says it's the best practice in safe food handling to minimize the transfer of dirt, microbes that may be on the skin to the fruit on the inside that you plan to consume. I do it with other things, but I've never done that with a banana. The thought is that while dirt may be visible on the skin of the fruit, it also might have pesticides or microbes like salmonella or campylobacter that can cause foodborne illnesses that you can't see. So that's why you rinse it with water. Not soap, just water. They say you should be washing all your produce before eating it, even organic varieties and things that you peel. If it feels counterintuitive, you should wash it first. And so, okay. Banana peels, avocado skins, other produce with thick exteriors just as susceptible to having bacteria as softer, more delicate skinned fruits and vegetables. I've always washed apples because I eat the skin, but if I'm going to peel the skin off, I always figured, well, other than cantaloupes. I've heard cantaloupes, it's easy to transfer when you're cutting through it. But bananas? Haven't done it. I don't think it's made me sick thus far, but who knows? They say the thicker skins do make it harder for bacteria or dirt to get into the flesh, which gives the food a longer shelf life. But when you cut through an avocado or banana, the knife can push anything on the skin into the edible flesh, cross-contaminating it. Washing the produce reduces the likelihood of that happening. Not a perfect process, not making your food sterile, but you can reduce the risk as long as you're doing it safely. So, I guess we're becoming banana washers now. I'm now going to be a banana washer. There was this story. I don't know if you guys saw this story. Well, you know what? Let me do some news headlines, and then we'll get into this girl that was kidnapped from a campground and found safe. It's a story that I've been following since she disappeared on the weekend, but I wanted to talk about it because it's fascinating what happened here. Okay, but first, let's go ahead and get some news in the mix because I was remiss yesterday in not doing it. And so let's get it on.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Maduro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Yes, good morning. It is the Nikki Maduro Show, and let's go ahead and get a little bit of news here on it. Let's talk about the former president and the civil fraud trial underway in New York City, where New York Attorney General Letitia James is accusing Trump and his family of inflating his net worth by saying his real estate portfolio was worth more than it was, which James said gave Trump better terms than he deserved from lenders and insurers. Before walking into the courtroom, yes, Trump blasted James and the case, calling it a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all times. And he's back for day 2 of this fraud trial. Yesterday, he said the case is a move to try to stop him from becoming president. God help us all. We're all looking for that. As mentioned, Kevin McCarthy is raising some doubts that he'll be keeping his House speakership role as a vote is set for later today. Today, McCarthy told reporters he would be ousted if every Democrat and just 5 Republicans vote against him. But ultimately, he thinks he'll keep the job. This comes after Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz put forward the motion to vacate the chair after McCarthy worked with Democrats to pass a short-term funding bill to keep the government open. Thank God somebody putting America first wants to keep us rolling. Hunter Biden is pleading not guilty to federal gun charges in Delaware. The president's son facing 3 felony firearms charges, including unlawfully possessing a gun as an illegal drug user. Hunter Biden's attorneys have called the charges illegitimate. Texas Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar is said to be okay after he was carjacked Monday night in Washington, D.C. Authorities say it happened about a mile from the U.S. Capitol. Police are looking for 3 men they say took Cuellar's vehicle and his luggage as well. There is an unexpected surge in job openings in August. It signals a strong labor market. The Labor Department reported that more than 9.6 million vacancies were reported for the month. That is a jump of nearly 700,000 from July, despite the Federal Reserve's efforts to slow the economy. The problem with them is, though, they're not jobs that pay well. They're service industry jobs. So you can't go from your tech job you just got laid off from making $170,000 a year in the Bay Area to a service industry job making less than half that. How does that work? I do want to do a little business news as well. Visa is launching a $100 million generative AI venture initiative. The San Francisco-based credit card giant will invest in the next generation of companies focused on developing generative AI technologies and applications. Visa saying companies that can impact the future of commerce and payments will be the priority. 3rd week of Google's federal antitrust trial kicking off with Microsoft's CEO as a witness, Satya Nadella testifying that Google has unfairly made it impossible for Microsoft to compete. Sad, because Bing sucked. Nadella added that AI advancements won't be enough to allow his company to catch up. A Bay Area judge handing Tesla an autopilot win. In an Oakland courtroom, the judge ruled a group of vehicle owners must individually arbitrate their claims that Tesla misled them about its autopilot feature rather than take the matter to court. So it means a much larger class action against Tesla will not be heard in court. So there you have that. And on the wackier side of news today, the Priscilla trailer is out. It's a new trailer for A24's Priscilla, based on Priscilla Presley's memoir from 1985 called Elvis and Me. And it covers her personal accounts of her relationship with her dad, or with her husband, rather. It follows the couple from their first meeting in Germany to their eventual divorce. It stars Kylie Spaney as Priscilla and Jacob Elordi as Elvis. Priscilla is hitting theaters everywhere on November 3rd. Interesting, but not a story we haven't heard before, right? I mean, I guess it keeps being interesting. I don't know. One thing I did want to make sure you guys knew is that nobody won the Powerball last night. It was at 1.04 billion. Now it's at 1.2, I think. Yeah, 1.2. $1.2 billion for the next drawing. It's growing and growing. The next chance to strike it rich coming Wednesday night with an estimated $1.2 billion on the line. That would be a cash option of $551 million. So the dream stays alive for now. It stays alive. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Maduro Show. This show is crowdfunded, which means we do rely on you. Thank you for all the ways you help us out with the show. Find our Patreon link at thenikkimadoroshow.com. And of course, the super chat is open and live here on the Nikki Maduro Show. I will say that as well. So, and thank you for spending the morning with us. Honestly, appreciate all the ways you are here for us. Okay. So let's talk about this girl. She was camping with her family, this 9-year-old girl who vanished from a camping trip in New York. She was on a bike ride with her friends, cousins, people that her family was camping with, and they were doing loops around the campground. And the other kids were done, but she wasn't, and she wanted to go on one more bike loop around the campground, and they found her bike and not her. She never came back. This happened in New York. This is in upstate New York where this happened. Charlotte Senna is her name. She disappeared while riding her bike early Saturday evening at Moreau Lake State Park. It's a heavily wooded campground wilderness area about 30 miles-ish north of Albany, New York. Big search to try to find her. They looked through the wilderness, but they also pinged all the cell phones of all the people that were there at the time, and then watched where all those people dispersed to. And apparently that was key in helping find her, right? Oh, I'm sorry, portions redacted. I've kept your thing up there way too long. I'm so sorry about that. Let me take that off. Yes, they did find her. Yay, they found her. So exciting when something like this happens. So, okay. This story. Wow. So they identified a fingerprint from a ransom note allegedly left by the suspect. And this person has been identified as 47-year-old Craig Nelson Ross Jr. The governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, said what happened was extraordinary. She said while the rest of Charlotte's family remained at the campground, police watching their home saw someone drop a note in their mailbox early Monday morning, like 4:30 in the morning. And state police pulled fingerprints off that note. The second one matched Ross, who was in a database from a case in 1999, like a DUI case. So then they linked Ross to this property owned by his mom. They made entry and found him in a camper at about 6:30, I think last night. He resisted, was taken into custody. The little girl was found in a cabinet. In a cabinet. She was taken to a hospital, the governor said, as is customary. She appeared physically unharmed. She and her family have been reunited. So far, no charges have been filed against Ross, but they're expected to be charged. He's expected to be charged. I mean, how could you not? Really? What a creepy thing. It's like something out of CSI. A little girl found in a cabinet in the nick of time. This is still an active investigation. There were 400 people looking for this little girl. This fourth grader. I have a fourth grader. I have a 9-year-old fourth grader. This is what she was. A 9-year-old fourth grader. And I'm so relieved that she was found alive, because this is not usually how these cases work out. She's been returned safely. So You know, I hope nothing bad happened to her while she was in this person's custody. Maybe that's too much to hope for, but I'm just glad she's okay and she's back. Let's talk a little bit about something that happened last night in San Francisco. A pedestrian walking at an intersection, 5th and Market, at 9:30 last night was hit by two cars. First, a regular vehicle, which hit her, and then she rolled off that car and right into the path of one of these robo-taxis, which ran her over. And you know what happens when they sense danger or something is wrong? They just stop, right? So it runs her over and then stopped right on top of her. She's screaming in pain. Apparently, the rear axle and a tire were on her leg. It didn't move off of her leg. If a person were behind the wheel of that car, they would have rolled off of her leg. It would have felt like it was, not on the ground. A driver would have known, right? I think. The driverless taxi had no passengers in it, ran her over, stopped, pinned her to the ground with its rear axle and tire over her leg. She was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. There was a bike delivery kind of person who's so kind and stopped and was trying to reassure her as the ambulance was coming, telling her, "You'll be okay." He said she was just screaming. It was awful. They had to use the jaws of life to lift this vehicle off of her. Multiple traumatic injuries. It appears once the cruise car sensed something underneath its rear axle, it came to a halt, turned on its hazard lights, and there it just sat. Sorry, I have the wrong picture on. Yeah. So I think these vehicles have been approved too quickly, and a lot of people are saying that's the case. You have federal officials now looking into it, saying, we don't know. I think there needs to be some federal rules about all this. What it seems like to me. So, another story for you. Speaking of AI, the world's largest humanoid robot factory is set to be built in Salem, Massachusetts. We're finally building humanoid robots in a factory, like mass producing them. Agility Robotics is best known for creating that bipedal robot known as Digit. The human-centric, multi-purpose robot is designed to work safely in a warehouse and distribution centers. So it's going to take away all those warehouse jobs. Thanks for that. The company says it hopes the factory will be able to produce more than 10,000 robots a year. 70,000 square feet factory, going to open later this year, going to start cranking out these humanoid robots. Wow. The future has arrived. Are we ready for it? I don't think we're ready for it. I don't know if I'm ready for it. Some better news, especially for businesses in San Francisco. We've got Fleet Week this week. So it started yesterday, and already there's some big ships that have docked in the bay, and they are ready for people to come tour them. They opened for tours yesterday. Fleet Week running from October 2nd to October 10th. And this weekend, we are going to see the Blue Angels from the U.S. Navy fly. The hope is that, as in years past, this event will draw large crowds to San Francisco. People will flock to the Embarcadero as they have in years past, the Marina Green. A lot of activities going on around San Francisco. So, it's a celebration of armed forces, of the power of America. And I get that not everybody wants to see that on display. But a lot of people do, and a lot of people come check it out. And so maybe businesses that have been faltering in San Francisco will really get a bit of a leg up from all this. Something else happening, and on this show, of course, Nikki's mom was a Kaiser nurse, my sister a Kaiser therapist, so we side with the labor on this one. But the folks at Kaiser are looking to strike, is what's happening. more than 75,000 workers. And this could be a very, very big strike. And so it hasn't happened yet, but I think the union has given permission for such a thing. This strike could happen this week. 75,000 Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers around the country, including the Bay Area, are positioned to start this 3-day strike, which would start tomorrow, if Kaiser and the unions representing the workers can't come to any type of deal on a new contract. I don't believe this one involves nurses. I know it doesn't involve doctors. This would be, though, the largest healthcare worker strike in U.S. history. And it affects locations in California, Colorado, Washington State, Oregon, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Emergency departments would stay open. Some non-urgent medical appointments, procedures may need to be rescheduled. The Kaiser would contact anyone if that's the case. Their contract expired on Saturday. The terms of the old contract are still being honored while they work toward a new negotiation on this one. So here's who would go on strike. It would be the licensed vocational nurses, the LVNs, the emergency department technicians, the radiology technicians, ultrasound sonographers, respiratory therapists, behavioral health workers. These are people without whom the day-to-day workings of the hospital, you can't run a hospital without them. You need your respiratory therapist. You need your x-ray techs. You need the people to do the ultrasounds and the CTs and the MRIs. You need the LVNs. The RNs can't do it all. And so, yeah, behavioral health workers as well. You need all these people. Kaiser, they say, according to the SEIU, United Healthcare Workers West, and 10 other unions, they say Kaiser's not doing enough to address chronic understaffing and the burnout that was exacerbated by the pandemic. And that all is putting safety at risk. So the coalition of unions is saying their whole point is to ensure that Kaiser addresses the growing short staffing crisis at Kaiser facilities. They say Kaiser executives are refusing to bargain in good faith with frontline healthcare workers. They really need to end this short staffing crisis. Since COVID, we've seen many frontline healthcare workers leave the industry, and Kaiser executives are refusing to listen to them to fix this problem. In a survey done in 2022, 33,000 California healthcare workers were asked, and 85% said their departments were severely or somewhat understaffed. 65% said they'd seen or heard of care being delayed or denied as a result of short staffing. I mean, don't you get frustrated enough if you've come for care and there's no one to see you or there's no one to do what you need, that eventually you just walk out and say, done. Kaiser is saying, wait a minute. We lead in compensation. We have a lower attrition rate, 7% than the industry average, and they're hoping they can avoid this strike. So, in the Bay Area, that's Antioch Medical Center, Fremont Medical Center, Oakland Medical Center, Richmond, Redwood City, Roseville, San Francisco, San Jose, San Leandro, Santa Clara, Santa Rosa, Vacaville, Vallejo, Walnut Creek, all of those Kaisers. So we'll keep our eye on that. We'll see if they go on strike tomorrow. At this point, it's not looking good, is what I have to say. In San Jose, the mayor is trying to declare a crisis because of homelessness. And it is indeed a crisis. The San Jose mayor says due to the number of unhoused residents, this is a crisis. Mayor Matt Mahan in San Jose says we have to treat it like a crisis. He said our actions and our policies have to match the rhetoric. So the mayor, the vice mayor, and others plan to submit a memo tomorrow classifying San Jose as a city in crisis due to the number of unhoused residents. More than 4,000 people in San Jose are living alongside riverbeds. They're living out of RVs. They're camping out on sidewalks. This is Silicon Valley. I mean, this is, homes go. You can't get a house for under $1 million. One of the district council members in San Jose, David Cohen, says our residents are frustrated, and we as council are frustrated as well. The encampments keep growing. The council's frustrated, he said. So many of the problems associated with unsheltered living keep getting worse. A crisis declaration, they say, would streamline current policies and procedures to shorten the time it takes to build interim housing or safe parking and sleeping sites from years to months. This is an emergency. We have to move with all haste to build safe, dignified alternatives to encampments, said Supervisor Cohen, or Councilman Cohen. As a council, it's our obligation to get barriers out of the way to make sure we can do things as quickly as possible. You heard yesterday about we talked about it, about I think I had it on Mark's show, about this RV encampment in San Francisco near Candlestick Point near the boat launch, where a spot there to park your RV is $140,000 a year. That's how much it costs the city of San Francisco to provide this spot with security and showers and sanitary hand washing stations and power and social services to come knocking on your door to see if they can get you into permanent housing. $140,000 a year, more than twice what I pay for a mortgage. We're doing it wrong. We are doing it wrong. We are throwing money at the wrong things. We are doing this wrong. And we keep doing it because someone on the other side is collecting that cash. This needs to be a major investigation. We need to completely revamp the way we're treating homeless people, the way we're looking to solve the homeless problem. And I think we need to look into doing what Texas is doing, which is not these temporary Band-Aid, live in your RV, we'll pay $140,000 a year per spot. That's not right. Doesn't work. We need to stop. Right now, stop. Scoop all the money back and figure out how to get these people into long-term housing. Now you could say, why do they get help having their housing paid for and we don't? I would argue it's cheaper to help them with long-term housing than all these short-term stopgap measures that are bleeding our state money. So at some point, it becomes better for taxpayers to do it a different way. Not what we're doing is not working. And the more money we throw at it, the more money they want to help fix a problem that seems unfixable. Fix it by getting them into long-term housing. That's what it seems like to me. Some critics are saying San Jose is sounding the alarm. The firestorm is already too big. The alarm is pointless at this point. Like watching a house burn to the ground and saying, we need water on the house. There's a burning fire. But then you watch another house appear and it's on fire. So the mayor of San Jose needs a majority of 3 on the Rules Committee on the City Council to vote for this crisis declaration in order to move it forward. And if that happens, the declaration will go to the full council for a vote, perhaps by the end of October. I'm for building places to get these people off the streets in a long-term fashion. I think that's where we have to go. That's the only way forward, it seems to me. Let's talk about something else taxpayers are footing the bill for. Ineptitude. So, this man was killed by his neighbor. Why is that the city of Oakland's fault? Let me tell you the story. So, Mike Armistead, he's a 44-year-old guy. He's doing yard work at his house on Ney Avenue in East Oakland when his former neighbor fatally shot him This was on May 1st of 2020. The issue is that neighbor, Jamal Thomas is his name, who allegedly shot him, had been jailed and released after threatening Armstead. All right? So Thomas was initially arrested in February of 2020 for making terrorist threats toward his neighbor, Armstead. He was released that month. He had allegedly thrown a brick at Armstead, narrowly missing him. Police issued a warrant for his arrest, requested his bail be set at $700,000, but an Alameda County Superior Court judge changed the amount to $1. What? Thomas was never arrested in relation to the alleged brick-throwing incident. And then he allegedly shot and killed Armstead the next month. He was arrested. Now he's set to face trial next month, November 2nd, it starts. So Armstead's wife, Melina, sued the city and the county for the loss of financial support, companionship, emotional distress. She claimed Oakland police should have done more to protect her family. The city agreed to settle this case to avoid further litigation without admitting any liability. So today the city council votes on the settlement. Armstead, a wealth manager at Fremont Bank, was a father of 3. They were expecting a 4th child at the time of this shooting. He had with a second wife, I guess. So the city of Oakland will pay $450,000 to the widow of this man that was killed by someone who was let out of jail on a dollar bond. I think if this case had gone to trial, it would have gotten a lot more than that. Inept. Who does that? What was the judge thinking? That the threat wasn't real? That it was, just a neighborhood dispute, a little spat among friends? No. When do we start taking this seriously? And so now the taxpayers are on the hook in Oakland for $450,000. I don't begrudge her that money. I think she completely deserves it after what happened. It's just frustrating. The people we put in charge making some crap choices over and over again. Speaking of crap choices, the Millennium Tower continues to sink in San Francisco. And now residents are being billed $6.8 million to fix the cost overruns because of the tilting, sinking tower. This is the story that just will never go away. So the work is finally over to fix the Millennium Tower. The Millennium Tower where the condos in this place went for the millions, right? It was a $20 million cost overrun on this retrofit project. A retrofit project, by the way, that still has the building tilted. So it's not a total fix. The project ended up being cut to 18 piles that they had to put in. And it was completed late August. But the scaled back project ended up costing $120 million based on the accounting provided by the Homeowners Association. So residents were recently notified, and it's not their fault that the builder was jacked up and didn't build it right. But now the residents have been notified that they have an emergency assessment of $10 a square foot of condo space for overruns. And they've got to pay it this month, like now. It was due October 1st. One man, and they told people this would happen, that as they tried to fix the building and, get it to lean, stop sinking and whatever, that they might have sewage backups and other issues. And that's what happened. So this one man lives in this pricey condo, and he said sewage started coming up through his kitchen sink. Ugh. There's no amount of bleach, right? They engineers had warned backups could be a byproduct of the tower's tilting. So this man says he's forced to move because of this mess. He's in the middle of figuring out how to clean it up when he gets from the Tower Owners Association a bill for $14,000, payable now. He says this is a luxurious and famous building, But unfortunately, it's not like this for me. I'm really suffering. The Tower Association says homeowners were compensated for lost property value. The association was allotted $150 million to pay for securing the high-rise to bedrock, to pay for legal bills, restore reserves, and account for other unexpected costs. But $150 million still not enough because of all the setbacks and the delays and the cost overruns. So the $6.8 million shortfall is cut up and spread around to the rest of the residents to cough up the cash. The bill apparently for this guy who had the sewage in his sink came at a time he already had to tap his retirement savings to pay for his ruined kitchen. He said, I'm really having a hard time seeing how I can leave for the retirement, how to get out of this apartment and do my retirement. He said, it's very costly. They keep asking for more money, and this is not acceptable for me. The building, by the way, despite all the tilting and the fixing, has only improved by a fraction. The high-rise is stuck leaning 29 inches at the northwest corner. $120 million. And it's still leaning 29 inches at the northwest corner. I mean, does it seem like it's a place that we should just scrap and start over with whatever's being built? I know it's too expensive to do that. I wouldn't want to live there. I don't trust the building. In an earthquake? Come on. In San Francisco? Please. No way. Not even a little bit. And you've seen people try to offload these condos. I guess people are buying them. I don't know. I don't think I would. Would you? It's still leaning 29 inches, you guys. 29 inches. Not good enough. I haven't checked your comments in a bit. Let's see what you have to say. Oh, Joe Fong with a $20 super sticker. Thank you, Joe Fong. You're so nice. Nikki is gone today. Tomorrow and Thursday, she will return on Friday. You know, we have to, since the layoffs at KGO, we're trying to make these shows work. We're trying to be here for everyone, but rent comes due and you've got to make that money. So she is in San Francisco working. And I'll, keep the home fires burning here as long as I can. I do very much appreciate your $20 contribution to the show. It keeps us going and helps keep me sitting in the chair. So thank you so much. Otherwise, I'm going to have to drive into San Francisco too. And you guys know I don't want to do that. Heather wonders regarding the Millennium Tower, what their homeowners' insurance rates are, if they can even get coverage at all. I wonder the same thing. Oof. Thank you for the reminder. Smash the like button. If you could just click it, really appreciate that. Amy says we should use the tower to house the homeless. Yeah, put them in a leaning tower. Put them at risk. Ugh, come on. Heather wants to know if this thing is actually fixable. Are they insisting on messing with it? Why are they insisting on messing with it when it's hopeless? It seems like it. Someone has deemed it safe. Maud Day says, new stadium fail. I can't believe with that much money they designed that thing. I'm not sure what stadium you're talking about. You're talking about the Millennium Tower, or did I miss something? I might have. Jim talking about the case out of Oakland. $1 jail bond. Some judges can be swayed. I don't think the bond amount should be adjustable. No. In this case, what a big mistake. Right? Regarding the homeless situation and the impending crisis declaration in San Jose, Gil writes, a friend works for a nonprofit for homeless outreach. She says very little money gets to them and management gets paid too much. Yeah, we're doing it wrong. We need a thorough accounting. All these businesses that are trying to help, we need to look at that. Lorraine, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here as well. I really am. So thank you for the $5 super sticker. It really means so much. Nikki and I really appreciate that a lot. I can't even tell you. So you guys are awesome. Thank you. Again, the super sticker, super chat's open, theNikkiMadoroShow.com, all the ways you can help us out. You know, y'all, by now y'all know that, right? Yeah. Nick says they're counting on it settling and leaning back the other way over time. Okay. I'm still not buying. I mean, not that I can afford to buy a condo there, sadly. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't buy a condo there for $3. Not a chance. Mm. Oh, thank you for the nice words, Gordon. That's kind of you to say. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I just saw a story pop up from Newsweek. And this one is about former First Lady Melania Trump. And interestingly, we haven't really heard very much about her. But the word is, according to this story, that she could be the answer to the Trump business troubles with this fraud trial. Melania's former chief of staff, Stephanie Grisham, told Newsweek that she may have some demands for the former president, Melania, to address before she agrees to help him. So I guess Donald could sign his business over to other family members like Melania who were not named as defendants in this case, and so not subject to the ruling. And if they, they did something like that with Mar-a-Lago, right? Get it out of the hands of Trump or his business dealings, right? To safeguard it. Grisham, who was Melania's former chief of staff, said she doubts Melania would agree to do this without certain conditions. She said, I don't know she would want to take on that much responsibility unless she was granted or guaranteed some major control power. Would he give her that? News reports have suggested Melania recently renegotiated her prenup as her husband's presidential campaign moves closer. Among her priorities, more money, property, and a larger trust for their 17-year-old son. It could be that the future of her son and that consideration would lead her to take over her husband's business in New York. Should her son decide to follow in the footsteps of his father and then go into real estate, that supposedly she could do it for the son's sake, so that he could eventually run everything if he wanted, and she just safeguarded until he was able to step in and do that. But she doesn't want to lose any kind of money or be on the hook for paying any of business taxes or anything like that. Meanwhile, the former federal prosecutor and president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Niyama Ramani, says maybe Melania wants to keep some distance from all this. He says Trump may be broke by the time the presidential election is over. He's spending tens of millions of dollars to defend himself in 4 separate criminal cases, and the trials haven't even started yet. That maybe he's a fundraising machine, but I don't know. Melania taking over the Trump organization. Hey, whatever they want to do. I thought did I not wad up the whole Trump thing in a little ball and throw it in my garbage can? How did that happen? No. No more of the Trump. Don't want it. In Washington, D.C., the newest word is the Democrats are saying, we're not going to throw a lifeline to Kevin McCarthy. We're not going to do it. They said, yeah, it doesn't look good. So the key vote is coming today. We talked about this over McCarthy's political future as the Speaker of the House. Gaetz moving to get rid of him. And now Democrats are saying, I don't think we're going to cross over and provide a lifeline. Don't think that we're going to do this. So again, something to listen to. Because I have resurrected Trump from my trash can, I will tell you also that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has some new things to say. He's saying Trump will sell you out. Now remember, DeSantis is a guy, he and Trump were supporters of each other, right? At one point. My, how the tide has turned. DeSantis declared Trump missing in action at last week's Republican primary debate. And then he challenged Trump to a one-on-one debate as if that's going to happen, and talked all about Trump's shortcomings. Turned Georgia and Arizona blue, said DeSantis, and accused Trump of hiding from the campaign trail. Uh, he says, DeSantis tried to do this aggressive approach, and it just doesn't really work, I don't think. He just doesn't seem strong enough to pull this one off. It's a new phase of the DeSantis campaign trail, but it feels like a desperate phase of the DeSantis campaign trail, doesn't it? It feels desperate to me. I think he's really struggling. He's going to have to call it quits. The DeSantis campaign is still adamant that the race is far from settled, that the timing of recent broadsides is coming as the 2024 election is now coming into focus for many voters. DeSantis says Trump is a different candidate. He said, I think he's changing in a way that isn't consistent with the values of the people in Iowa. As we talked about at the beginning of the show, I don't think his values are consistent with the people of America, but okay. He gave an interview, 11 minutes long. DeSantis said, I think all pro-lifers should know that he's preparing to sell you out. He's taking positions that I think are different from what he took in 2015 when he first came onto the scene. And I think he's a different candidate today than he was back then. So you're not voting for the same guy? No, he's the same guy. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. DeSantis is on the attack. Good luck. I don't think DeSantis attacking is going to work out for him. Because a DeSantis attack can never be as ugly or brutal as a Trump attack. This is the stuff of nightmares, this story. This gang apparently removed hundreds of kidneys from people to sell to wealthy clients. This story out of Pakistan, where police in eastern Pakistan, they say they've smashed this illegal organ harvesting ring. They arrested 8 people for surgically removing kidneys from hundreds of patients for wealthy people needing a transplant. They have done, according to Pakistani police, 328 operations on people to take their kidneys out and sell them to clients for up to $10 million each. Or, not dollars, I should say rupees. That's $34,000. So 10 million Pakistani rupees is $34,000. This man, who they called Dr. Fawad, was apparently assisting in operations being done by an unnamed car mechanic who would administer anesthesia. Ugh, this whole thing sounds yuck. 3 deaths have so far been confirmed in connection with these operations. There must be more operations that have been carried out. These are the only ones we can confirm. So it's possible that there are even more than this. Some of the patients whose organs were harvested didn't know that their kidney was actually removed. They say police spent 2 months investigating the case after a man came forward saying he was convinced by one of the alleged gang members to get medical treatment done privately. Later, when he went to another doctor for further treatment, he was told that he didn't have a kidney. The police say our focus is to track other gangs who are operating like this as well. It is the trading of human organs illegal in Pakistan. You can't harvest or traffic organs. You get 10 years in jail, $3,400 fine if you do it. That doesn't seem like it has much teeth. But the practice has continued, illegal kidney transplants making a comeback for $34,000. How sad is that? I think that's, when you take away what we have in this country with the list, the medical ethics departments that are tasked with looking at who gets the organs, the rules covering everything. Any of us can donate a kidney at any time, right? In one of these big organ donation swaps. I've known people that have participated in that. I mean, it's the most selfless giving thing if you know someone else is going to die and you can help. But this is gross. You know, this is like what you wake up in a dirty hotel room with a piece of gauze over your midsection and a kidney gone. Scary. Stuff that happens in the world. Yikes. Jimmy Buffett recently passed away. You may know. And now they may name a Florida highway after him. So that's a nice memory. You may be, they say, cruising down a Florida highway named after singer Jimmy Buffett while listening to his A1A album named after this road. So a Florida lawmaker is filing a bill to rename State Road A1A, which is a coastal highway that runs from Key West in the south to Fernanda Beach in the north in honor of Jimmy Buffett. So it would be what, Jimmy Buffett Highway? Or maybe A1A Highway? State Representative Chuck Clemens, who's a Republican, filed the bill to give honorary designation of certain portions of State Road A1A in specified counties. If the bill gets passed, the state road would be named Jimmy Buffett Memorial Highway in all Florida counties on the East Coast. So, I mean, that's nice. I think he wasn't born in Florida. He was born in Mississippi. He grew up in Alabama. He spent some time in the North Bay, here in the Bay Area. Spent some time in Southern California. But it's no doubt that Florida was a special place for him, and he wrote songs there. And so that would be nice. Yeah. A1A album released December of 1974. So on that album, a song called Trying to Reason with the Hurricane Season, which mentioned that coastal highway. So that's a nice thing to do. You know, I don't know if it cost him anything other than signage, but that's good. I'm a fan of it. As the 2024 campaign edges ever closer, Howard Dean, remember him? He's the former governor of Vermont. He's the one who was kind of trying to invoke the Bible. Would try to talk about the book of Job, but I don't like the way it ends, he said. And he was talking about the Bible. Got it wrong. And now, apparently, they're saying this is a bipartisan practice. It's not just Dean. The candidates are trying to hijack the Bible. And that voters should pay attention, because they're going to try to use the Bible to say, oh, you know, we're religious, or you should relate to me because, you know, I read the good book or whatever. And they'll probably be getting it wrong. So apparently they're saying this whole, you know, toting out of the Bible and references gets really heated during campaign season, and the scriptural references and allusions sprout like mushrooms. This according to an article on CNN. But a theologian says, you know what? The scripture's been used and abused in American politics. And there are so many notorious examples of where people get it wrong, try to invoke the Bible, but they get it wrong. And so the Bible has been used to justify atrocities. It has been misquoted. It has been used to take children away from their parents. And evangelicals used it to justify their support of Trump and his decision to use the Bible as a photo prop outside of a church. We remember that one in D.C. One of the most notorious examples of misusing Bible quotes comes from U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions during the Trump administration, who cited a passage in Romans 13 to justify the administration's policy of separating parents from children at the Mexico border. He quoted, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God." Okay, so watch it, because here we go again. It's a Bible quoting season, and we should all be well aware. I will tell you the Mark Thompson show is coming up, and there are some great guests on tap, including David K. Johnston, who will be joining us from overseas. We also have Diane Dimon on the show today talking about guardianship. The story is really interesting, and it's eye-opening. I'll say that. So Mark has a great show lined up. I got to see him over the weekend, and we live in different portions of the state, and what an absolute treat it was for me to sit down with Mark and Courtney and have a couple of tropical cocktails at a tiki bar and hang out. So we may talk a little bit about that. I want to thank you guys so much for your contributions. Harry, I love you too. I love your heart. You're so kind. And I'm so sorry you have to go back into the office. But I'm glad you have a job, and I'm so grateful that you're able to contribute to the show this way. Really, really kind of you. Lorraine with the $5 super sticker as well. Lorraine, your kind words, I'll put them in my heart. So thank you. And Joe Fong with the $20 super sticker. Such a nice message, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you guys for all the ways you contribute to the show, and for sticking with me even though Nikki's not here. I'll be back. I'll be doing it again tomorrow. And I thank you very much. So I will tell you one more time about this raffle because it's coming to a close. This is just about, we're reaching the anniversary week, and we will pick a winner for the box of Nikki's favorite things. And trust me, you want the box. It's going to be full of good stuff. A $20 contribution to PayPal. You can email or use this email address if you go to paypal.com and they're asking who you're sending your $20 to. It's Nikki, the Nikki Maduro Show at gmail.com is that email address where you would send. And then she'll send you a confirmation and you'll be entered officially to win this box. And I hope that you are successful because, like I said, I would like to have the box. I think it's going to be really, really great. Oh, Deidre recommending this article today in the Washington Post about the United States needing more atheists because they have better critical thinking skills and they don't believe in politicians blindly. Thank you for that, Deidre. I'll look that up. That sounds great. Janet R., you're going to be in Petaluma tomorrow? Where? Email me. It is kim@theafterparty.live. Tell me where you're going to be. Maybe we'll make it not chance, right? I would love to cruise by and say hello. Square, yes, I will see you on the Mark Thompson Show in mere minutes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the Nikki Maduro Show and helping to keep this show rolling and keep us alive. So I will end it.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.